everybody. Today I'm doing my second video with the Adornable Elements Gemstones of the Month Club. This month it was citrine, so there were 5 different packages with beautiful different shapes of the citrine gemstone, and I have some 6mm and 8mm out here. And what I'm going to do is make a pendant. So I have this little sample done that I did with some other beads and one of my handmade boho beads. So that's kind of where we're going. I had 2 of these little empty tubular pendants in my stash and I can't find them. I have searched because I actually wanted some more, but I did find something similar. So I'll put a link, put a couple of links for something similar. They look like this. They came like this, with an eye pin basically up the middle, and so you take the little stopper off, there's the eye pin, and then you take this apart and you can fill it with beads. It's like a bead lover's pendant. So that's what I'm doing. But what I did on this one is I did not use the eye pin that came with it. I made my own with some gold wire, and on both of these I want to alternate the gold with the antique brass, and then that also gave me more length so that I could stack some extra things here because these are quite short. It's really just enough to get a simple loop in the top. So I'm going to do the same thing on this one. And if you did not see my video on making beads, I've done several videos on making beads, but if you want to know how to make those, this video here, I did quite a few samples. I made a couple of pendants. In this particular video, I showed you guys how to cover wooden beads with fabric and embellish them, and they are so fun to make. This was just a really fun video to share, fun video to make. It was just wonderful. And I'm going to create kind of this shape again and create a gemstone loopy tassel for my pendant that I'm going to make today. So I thought I'd show you that one because you can do all different configurations with them. So I have some 11/0 seed beads out here. I have the 2 different sizes of the citrine, and I have these 2 to 3mm citrine faceted little tiny gemstones. I've also threaded a number 12 beading needle because these are so small. I have threaded it, my thread is tangled on everything. I have threaded it with some beige wildfire. It's 10 pound. You could also use 6 pound here because there will be literally no stress on this. And I'm going to string a really teeny tiny little tassel. This is what I did in my first video with the citrine. There were citrine coin beads, and I just created this little halo and made this perfume bottle shaped earring with some, things from my stash, and I really love those. And so like for my pendants, I keep blank chains in my jewelry box. So I have this blank chain here, which like this pendant can go on here. I love alternating the antique brass with the brighter gold, so I can put my pendant on that chain. I also love my gold chains. These are e-coated from Purity Beads, and I just put a high quality gold plated lobster claw clasp and leave these empty in my jewelry box. And then I just love to choose a pendant. So I know what my lobster claw clasps are. So when I make my bails, I make them large enough that I can change these out. I also have several selections of colored leather cord that are blank that I've just put like simple little lobster claw clasps. So it gives you like all this versatility for wearing your pieces. And when you travel, you can grab a leather cord, you can grab a gold chain or a silver chain and several pendants and change out your look without carrying a lot of jewelry. So, it's just something that I kind of recommend to my friends that make a lot of jewelry because it cuts down on all the long necklaces. So, and I love my Purity Beads chains because they're e-coated so they don't tarnish. They last a really long time. Nothing is as good as fine metals, but they're very expensive. So that is a very cost-effective way to have some really sturdy chains in your wardrobe. Okay, so let's do this first. I have a piece of 20 gauge wire to which I'm going to just get a simple loop in one end. You can do this with your pliers. I love my one-step looper because it really saves my hand. And I guess I've just gotten really used to grabbing this tool. I'm fast with my loops with this tool. And I'm using the tool as like an extra hand so I can get this nice and smooth and straight. And I'm gonna go ahead and close this loop. This is my habit. That's a quirky little tool. It does a good job, but I still like to just put my pliers on all my loops. Just make sure they're perfect and work harden. That little bit of force when you do that, it work hardens the wire, believe it or not. And so with this particular one, the ones that what I can't find is the ones that have the hole that goes straight through the end caps and the tube. And if I can find them, I will share that link. But right now I can't find it. So like both of the ends come off, and this is glass. This is so lovely. And so I'm gonna put my wire up through here. Now you can you don't really need to do this. You could do, you could just do a ball head pin or a head pin going through and make your loop and then glue your cap on if you want to do it that way. But I'm going to do this because I have the rod up the middle, and I just have some spacer beads out here. So I'm going to create a little stack. Some of these kind of disappear down into the end cap on this. So I'm going to fill up that space with just some gold spacers, and then 6mm beads fit in here. And I just love having like a little window to my gemstone beads. And since the citrine is not really saturated with color, I do want to kind of highlight it. So I'm going to pop in some AB crystal rondelle spacers. So they have, whoops, I don't want to do two of them. I wanted to grab the wrong thing. I'm going to put another citrine, and I'm really just going to fill this tube. So I'm popping in 2 more spacers at the top, and you just want to sort of play with it until you have filled up the tube, and what you're looking at inside is what you want to see. So you can see that if you turn it, you can barely see the little extra spacers that are at the top. And then I gave myself this extra wire so that I can play with what I want, how I want to finish the top. I'm going to create a gemstone tassel that's going to hang from the bottom. So I could pop on an 8mm bead, and maybe I'll wait until my tassel is made and see if I want to do that 8mm bead or continue with another 6mm bead. So, and that's really quite pretty, isn't it? It looks like my beads, like one escaped from the tube. This truly is a bead lover's pendant. But I'm just going to set that down before I wrap this and make my large bail. I'm going to set that down and go to my pendant. And I wanted to show you this too. I'll search for these. Aren't these the cutest little things? It's a tiny little antique brass bow connector. There's a loop at the top and at the bottom. So I may do that on my bottom loop and then do my tassel. Isn't that the cutest thing? So I really love the bright gold wire because I'm alternating bright gold with the antique gold all the way down the pendant. So I may pop that little bow in at the bottom. So I have threaded my needle here, and I'm going to get my piece of wire that's already prepared. And so what I did is just put a pretty large simple loop on another piece of that same 20 gauge wire, and I have this plain little bead cap. I won't need that right away, but when you're making a tassel, it's good to know what your cap is going to be so that you can gauge how many strands of your tassel you want in there, how many fit basically. So I'm going to come to this loop, and it is closed really well and work hardened, and I'm going to put my wildfire through here, and I'm going to leave a pretty good tail so that I don't struggle tying off at the end of my tassel. And this is going to be a really tiny one, so this is not going to be much work at all. I'm just going to do a couple of knots, and I'm going to start stringing. And I think these little gemstones, they're micro-faceted and they're quite amazing. I really love them, but they are a little tricky to pick up. And like I said, a number 12 beading needle is really what you need. And I don't know if you can see that my needle has a red color on it. I found these cool needles that are color coded. I have the package here. So you can very easily tell your smallest size is the higher number. It's odd, I know, but the smallest size needle, it's in reverse, is a size 12, and those are color-coded red. The medium size is color-coded turquoise, and the largest size, which is the pretty standard one, number 10, is black. And it just really helps me, especially when I'm working with such a teeny tiny bead. I want to make sure that I have a small enough needle. And I'm going to pick up a couple of my 11-0 seed beads, because like maybe 3, because I want them, that's what I want to be hiding up inside my bead cap, and I want my gemstones to be visible. So let me just show you, pop this back on and just show you. When I pull that, let me get a hold of it. See how my, in fact, I could probably just do, I can just do 2. So that's what I mean about having chosen your cap ahead of time, so you can use it as a reference for spacing. I'll show you, but that will guide me as to how many loops I need to do, and you know, how long I want my tassel. So I'm going to start off with 2 of those seed beads. I'm just going to create my loops, and I'm going to do, in order to extend my gemstones here, I'm going to space out my loops with seed beads to, you know, just to make my, how can I say, just to make my beads go further so I can have the fullness that I want. And I may even do a couple of loops that is just seed beads, and maybe even alter my pattern, like do this one a gemstone 3, a gemstone 3 seed beads, a gemstone 3 seed beads, and maybe on my next one do a gemstone and 2 seed beads. But I'm going to try to use them all up, but you know, kind of extend the amount that I have, stretch them out with the seed beads. So I'm just going to get the kind of the desired length here on the first loop, and then that will be my gauge for my other loops. So I am doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gemstones for my loops, and then I separated my quantity, so that's going to give me 1, 2, 3, 4, a total of 5 loops. And then if I want to do a seed bead loop, at that point I'll put my bead cap back on and see how it's fitting up inside the bead cap. So reason I left this tail is that when I come up to the top here, I just want to tie my working thread to my tail thread at the top of my simple loop. Just a couple of overhand knots, and you can put a little like GS Hypo cement if you want to, but I'm just gonna tie a couple of knots every time I come back up to this loop. I don't want it to be too tight because I want it to be dangly like a tassel. And then I am ready. I'm right here, and I'm ready to do my next loop, which I'm going to always start with 2 seed beads and then do a gemstone bead separated by 3 seed beads. My third loop is in there, so I'm just gonna keep putting my bead cap on and see how I'm fitting. You can see I still have space, so I think my 5 loops is going to be just about perfect. I'm also turning it in the opposite direction since this is my last one, and I'm going to do a couple of overhand knots in the opposite direction. So right over left a couple times in one direction and left over right in the other. And I have my little loopy situation here, and before I trim off, I'm just going to pop my bead cap on again and just see if I like the way my tassel turned out, if it's full enough, if it's filling up the space, and it's really pretty perfect. But like I said, your seed beads can extend your amount of your gemstone beads. So if I needed to, I could just do a couple of gold seed bead loops if I needed it to be fuller. But actually, I think it's perfect. So I am going to burn off my threads and make this into a tassel. I'm very careful with my needle and thread. I'll put a little video at the end because while I was sitting here working, my little cat was right by me, just a few feet away, 2 feet away, playing with one of her toys and rolling on her back. And so I'm just really careful with my needle and thread because your pets can really get hurt on those. So I make sure that I put them away so my little darling fur babies don't get into trouble with them. And I have 3 of those little gemstones left, so I don't want to lose those. And I'm just going to like fit my bead cap down where I want it. And I'm going to do a wire wrapped loop here because I want to use jump rings for my little bow. So I'm just going to fit that down and come right to the top, pushing everything down, and give that wire a bend. And I'm going to do a small wire wrapped loop at the top of my tassel. This would also make really cute earrings. And you know, with Adornable Elements, one of the things that they offer, I get the single gemstone of the month club, but you can get a double, and then you would get twice the amount. So if you love gemstones, you know, then you'd have more of the little microfaceted citrine, and you could do earrings, you could make more tassels, you know. So I do the single because I really just review this box for you guys every month. But if you really love gemstones, or if you really do a lot of seed bead work and you're getting the seed beads of the month, you can, you know, definitely get a double order and get twice the amount. This is the cutest little tassel. And I'm just going to tuck that last wire. Look at that adorable little tassel. I just love it. So now I can see what I want to do with my pendant, and I think that the 8mm, I think it was a little bit big. The other thing, oh, I had 4 of my gemstones left over. The other thing I could do, let me just play with my beads here for a second. I love that. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wrap this top part of my pendant with a 6mm bead, topping off my my whole pendant. And so this right here, this, why this is so long, this is how I'm going to put my bail at the top, is what I'm inarticulately trying to say. So this loop here is going parallel to my mat, and my top loop, which is going to be my bail loop, needs to be going perpendicular to my mat so my chain can run through my pendant that way. So I'm going to put that 90-degree bend in my pendant and come in with my bail making plier, and I'm going to use this second to the largest step on my bail making plier. So I have to turn and put my wire in there so that I'm wrapping around this one, and I'm just going to position it so that everything is straight when I wrap. Just bring that over, and I'm going to rotate my bail plier and bring that around and just like get it so that that loop is centered over my pendant, just like that. It's such a pretty bail. And then I'm going to grab the entire loop and wrap down to my beads. Reposition. Nice, neat wraps right down to my beads. Okay, do one more wrap. And trim. And just really gently going to come in here and just tuck that wire. Just tuck it right in line. And now I can straighten everything. That is absolutely gorgeous. It's already gorgeous, and I haven't even done my embellishments. And I think that I'm going to float this citrine bead. I think I'm just going to turn that into a component. So I'll take that little scrap of wire and I'll come back with my one-step looper and put a simple loop on this end and pop my bead on. Simple loop on this end. Pull that bead down so I'm not putting any stress. The little component is done. And I'm going to open this loop and add it to the bottom of my pendant. Make sure it's closed really well and work hard in that loop a little bit. And then I'm going to open, let's see, is my orientation right? I'm going that way. Yes, okay, it's perfect. I'm going to attach my bow to that loop and do the same thing here. Just close it really well and work harden. And now I'm going to get a tiny little jump ring and attach my tassel to my bow with a gold jump ring. And I'm going to use a small jump ring that I made out of that same 20 gauge wire. Look at this gorgeous pendant. The bow does have a little front and a back. I absolutely love that. I have made a few things that I love so much, but I think this goes to the top of my list, and I think I'm going to be wearing this to my Bead Society meeting in a few days on a gold chain. I just think that is the sweetest pendant, and it's autumnal with, you know, the brass and the golden autumn color, but this is seasonless. Like, this can go into the summer as well, and that was so fun and so easy to make. I thank you guys so much for being here today, and I will put links in the description box and my discount code to Adornable Elements Beads of the Month Club. And if you're not familiar with it, you can choose just to receive the gemstones of the month every month. But I am rotating all 6 of the clubs, so every month it's a surprise. I get Rocaille 11O seed beads of the month. I get Delica seed beads of the month, fire polished beads of the month, hot and trendy, which are new finishes and shapes in the bead market. It is just a wonderful, wonderful club. I love getting it. I love reviewing the box for you, and I hope that you enjoyed this project. Check the description box for links, and I will see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching, everybody. Did you lose your toy, Bella Cat? You're so cute.